is Fantasy Tomorrow. Welcome back for week 2 of fantasy football. We are going to be doing things a little differently now. We have decided to go on ahead and instead of doing one super long video, break it up into a few short ones so we can cover our categories a little bit better and provide you guys with more information to help take you to the championship. As always, my name is Jaden, and we have our self-proclaimed fantasy football expert Caleb Henley on the line. Hey, Caleb.
How's it going, everybody?
So, how was your week 1 fantasy football league this week?
Overall, everything went about according to what I expected. There were a few surprises here and there, which is to be expected in week 1. Everything kind of can get kind of crazy, but definitely some good stuff that happened and very insightful to the future of the season. So it was all in all just good to have football back.
Yeah, I saw that your man. Wow, I can't think of his name. Oh, I saw that your man Clyde Edwards-Helaire popped off this weekend, so I bet you were excited about that.
Yeah, very excited about that one. That was pretty exciting to watch. He was actually the leading rusher in the entire NFL this week, so pretty incredible to see.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, you definitely called that one. So if you guys needed any more reason to believe him, week 1, there you go. Okay, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. We're going to be talking about waiver wires right now. So I guess our first question really is, which quarterback should we be willing to pick up this week?
So there's a few really good quarterbacks that did really well and that we could end up streaming. They likely didn't get drafted because they weren't highly ranked. But the first one I liked a lot who did really well is Gardner Minshew. Now he plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he was extremely efficient in how he played. He completed 19 of 20 passes, which is kind of unheard of in the NFL. So he's a perfect option for you if you need to stream a quarterback. The Jaguars are going to be in a lot of shootouts. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot, which is what we want from our fantasy quarterbacks. Another quarterback I like a lot is Teddy Bridgewater. Now, Teddy Bridgewater was also very efficient. He got into a shootout himself with the Las Vegas Raiders. But he has some really good weapons around him, and I think he's a good option to be able to stream from a week-to-week basis. And also, my third option I like a lot to pick up, and this might sound funny because he's not always the best real-life quarterback, but he's a good fantasy quarterback, and that's Mitchell Trubisky for the Bears. Now, he played terrible for 3 quarters of the game, but then in the 4th quarter, he went off, and he threw a game-winning touchdown to Anthony Miller. And again, like I said, he's not a great real-life quarterback, but as long as he's the starter for the Bears, he should be a decent fantasy option that you can stream. He runs quite a bit, which is a bit of a cheat code in fantasy football. So if you can have him and if you need to start him, I'd go for it.
Okay. Well, not that I'm knocking the gender of men, but most... I was like, wait a minute, that just sounds so bad. Okay, I was going to say... Okay. So some people being better in fantasy than real life. Doesn't sound too surprising for me. Okay, well now that we know our quarterbacks, which running backs really impressed you and we should try to pick up this week?
So one of the ones that impressed me the most was Nyheim Hines. He's the running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he was targeted 8 times in the passing game, which is exactly what we want to see from our running backs. Now, one of his teammates and fellow running back, Marlon Mack, he actually got hurt during this game. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. So while that's terrible for Marlon Mack, it actually could be good for Nyheim Hines' fantasy production, and he'll see a good share of targets in the passing game going forward. Another running back I like a lot is Benny Snell. He plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's found himself in a similar situation. The lead back for the Steelers, James Conner, got hurt. He didn't play for half the game, if not more, and Snell took over the carries, and he performed very well. So even if Conner comes back in a week or two, Snell has probably carved out a share of the workload from the Steelers, and he should be able to perform well on a week-in, week-out basis, and he could even take that job from Conner if Conner's not careful. Another running back that really surprised was James Robinson. Now, many of us didn't even know who that was going into our drafts, but he actually received 100% of the running back carries for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he's, without question, their lead back, definitely a valuable fantasy asset to have. Josh Kelly also was a bit of a surprise. He took over the Melvin Gordon role for the Los Angeles Chargers, now that Melvin Gordon, of course, is with the Denver Broncos. And he got a lot of their goal line carries for the Chargers, which of course is valuable to have. Another running back that got all of the goal line carries for their team is Peyton Barber with the Washington football team. He actually scored 2 touchdowns. And we know that just having a running back who gets goal line carries is extremely valuable to have. So definitely worth picking up and having on our team. If we need to start him in a bunch, we can. And then also Malcolm Brown. He's probably the best waiver wire ad that you can make this week. He was incredible on Sunday night against the Cowboys. And he split touches with Cam Akers, but he performed way better than Cam Akers did. And he actually, you could see that the Rams trusted him because he got all of the goal line work and all of the short yardage situational work as well. So the Rams trust him, and that offense looks good. So Malcolm Brown, he's definitely going to be a valuable running back that you want to have on your team.
Awesome. Don't get me wrong, I'm homegrown, love the Chiefs, but my dirty pleasure is watching the Broncos as well. My mom's a big fan since John Elway, so you have me won over with them.
That's kind of hard to hear.
I know. My dad says the same thing, but it's just my dad never really watched football, and my mom did, so it was like always the Broncos. So it's like I love the Chiefs, but I also love those Broncos. I love it. Like half of my wardrobe's Chiefs and half's Broncos, and now especially since their quarterback is from the Kansas City area, I love them. I can't deny it. I love them both. But now that we have our running backs, is there any wide receivers that you suggest picking up this week?
Yeah, a few definitely had really good weeks. Of course, Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the Green Bay Packers, he did really, really well. He caught a very impressive 45-yard touchdown from Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was just throwing the ball all over the place. He looks like a man on a mission. So very important to have Marquez Valdez-Scantling along with his teammate Allen Lazard, who also plays for the Packers. He looks really good as well. So both of them are going to get targeted a lot. They should both be valuable flex plays if we need them. Also, Robbie Anderson, he had a really good game for the Panthers. He was going up against the Raiders. He had 6 receptions, and he was able to take one of those receptions 75 yards for a long touchdown. He was definitely a very breakout player. He's likely on the waiver wires in your league. You can definitely pick him up and play him as needed. He has a chance to break out huge every week, every other week or so. Definitely someone to give some consideration to. Paris Campbell is probably the most impressive receiver that I saw. He has a great chemistry, it seems like, with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers targeted him a lot. And he's primed to have a breakout season, especially since he's a second-year receiver. He's finally learning what it's like to be in the NFL, so definitely someone to watch. And then also Anthony Miller. I already mentioned him with Mitchell Trubisky, but he had a really good game. And he seems to be one of Trubisky's favorite targets. So he's definitely someone worth having on your team. You can pick up any of those guys if they're available.
Okay, well, I'm not going to lie. After Aaron Rodgers, I did not hear anything you said because that is like one of my top 5 football crushes. Not even going to lie. Don't care that he's slightly older than I am. But, wow. Okay, got to get back into it. Is there any tight ends that you suggest picking up this week?
Yeah, so probably the most impressive one was Dallas Goedert. He plays for the Eagles. And the thing about Goedert that's weird is that he's actually the second tight end for the Eagles. He's below Zach Ertz on the depth chart. And we all know Zach Ertz is great, but Dallas Goedert's really good too. So he's definitely someone that we can have on our teams. We can actually start him in our leagues and feel totally fine because Carson Wentz has a connection with Dallas Goedert. You can rely on him. He's going to do absolutely great things in fantasy football. A few other tight ends I like that did well this week are TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. They're both second-year players. They both broke out, had great weeks. And then also O.J. Howard plays for Tampa Bay. And going into the season, I think a lot of us didn't expect a lot from O.J. Howard because Rob Gronkowski's on the team now. But Gronk looked like he's going to have a limited role in Tampa Bay. And O.J. Howard's actually outperformed Gronk on the field and in fantasy. So definitely all players that we could start if we need to. And ones that we could pick up if we are streaming tight ends. And yeah, we could feel fine starting any of them. We can trust them.
Awesome. Well, obviously, if you have an offense, you need a defense. So, are there any defenses that you suggest picking up this week?
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and say, I think that just about all of us should be streaming defenses from week to week. That means that we are playing a defense based on their matchup 1 week, and then the next week we're dropping them and picking up a different defense to play. So I do this, and it works really effectively because defense, you just don't want to just set the same one because the offenses vary so much, and really you just want to instead pick a defense that's playing a bad offense and that you know has a good matchup. So the matchups I like for this upcoming week in week 2 are the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now the Chiefs played really well against the Texans in week 1 for about 3/4 of that game. But even after they kind of blew it in the fourth quarter, they only allowed 20 points to the Texans and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think that the Chiefs are going to be totally fine against Tyrod Taylor and the Chargers. The Chargers have a bad offensive line. I expect the Chiefs to get a lot of sacks. That means a lot of points for your fantasy team, and they could even get a turnover or two. The other team I want to stream this week is the Los Angeles Rams. Now, they did really well against Dallas this past week, and Dallas has a good offense. So that bodes well for them. They're going up against the Eagles this upcoming week, and the Eagles are beat up. They have a bad offensive line, and the Eagles, they gave up 8 sacks this past week, which means that Aaron Donald and the rest of that Rams defensive line, they're going to be absolutely having a field day. They should be hitting Carson Wentz a lot and getting quite a few points for your fantasy team.
Those are, I know this is really bad to say because they're kind of boring too, but those games where the offense is really bad and the defense is really good, or vice versa, I love it. Like, even to this far, I used to work at a pizza bar, and we had these people come in every Monday and they would play Bad Football Monday Bingo, and it was the funniest thing. We had so much fun. It'd be like every time there's a flag thrown, every time there's a missed field goal, and you'd be amazed at how often it happened. It was insane, but I loved it. I was like, okay, cool, this is awesome.
No, I was going to say, yeah, sometimes bad football is the funnest football to watch just because of how entertaining it is.
I was just like, this is ridiculous, but I love it all at the same time. Okay, so that pretty much covers waiver wire for this week. We are going to be diving into injuries next, so go on ahead and click over to our next video, unless you want to watch us close this one out, so it's up to you. My name is Jaden, that was Caleb, and this is Fantasy Tomorrow, giving you the information so you can learn today and win tomorrow. See ya!